get out of that boardroom, because if you're in that echo chamber where everybody is looking at the same KPI, speaking the same language, you may be missing a larger picture. Get out there, find your consumers, talk to your consumers, spend a little time with competitive analysis. That's really where I spend a lot of fruitful time, is looking at competitors, what they're doing, what they're not doing anymore, and then most importantly, where they seem to be putting their emphasis, because there may be some gold in those hills, but most importantly, you kind of get an emphasis and a layout of where things are.
There are secrets out there, guys, performance marketing secrets, and knowing just one or two of them can absolutely light up your funnels. Let's go. This is the Revenue Driven CMO. I'm your host, Chris Mechanic. Join me as I uncover the secrets of the world's most elite CMOs and marketing leaders. The Revenue Driven CMO is sponsored by Web Mechanics, the AI-driven performance agency that makes you smarter. Hello, party people. Welcome to another exciting episode of Revenue Driven CMO. We've got a good one for you today. Our guest today is the real deal. She has been in marketing for many, many years. She's worked agency side. She's worked client side. She is an amazing blend of nerd, data nerd sort of, hands-on practitioner, but also just a big thinker, and a visionary marketer. What is really, really interesting about her, I think, is that she really cut her teeth in the e-com space, but now she is taking the world of EDU, higher education, by storm, and has some really, really interesting insights and things that from knowledge of EDU, but then also bringing sort of some of that e-commerce flair, which is, I love that concept of taking things that work in one space and then adopting them and tweaking them a little bit for another. So I'm super duper excited to get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Kathleen Stockham, CMO of South.edu. Welcome to the show, Kathleen. How are you?
Thank you. It's great to be here. Yep, I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for South College. We sit across 6 states. We have 9 campuses and specializing in healthcare, business, technology. And yes, you can find us at south.edu.
That is awesome. I want to really dive deep and get all into it, but we like to lead with the value. Why don't you just share for all the listeners, like, what is one of your big secrets to success?
Yeah, so as an old schooler who's been around a long time, I really like to go back to grassroots. And that is, I'm a big believer, get out of the boardroom. Get out of that boardroom, because if you're in that echo chamber where everybody is looking at the same KPI, speaking the same language, you may be missing a larger picture. Get out there, find your consumers, talk to your consumers, spend a little time with competitive analysis. That's really where I spend a lot of fruitful time, is looking at competitors, what they're doing, what they're not doing anymore. And then most importantly, where they seem to be putting their emphasis, because there may be some gold in those hills, but most importantly, you kind of get an emphasis and a layout of where things are. Plus, when you do go back to the boardroom and there are, opinions or theories or strategies, you're able to pull out a lot of that information and that data of what the competitors are doing, and you've got it right there in front of you. Or if you've had conversations or a little feet on the street with your consumers, and you know where they're going or what they're interested in, or quite frankly, where they're hanging out at, as it relates to a marketing initiative, you've got a lot of very powerful information that now you can share and evangelize with the other executives around the table. Get out of that boardroom.
Get out of that boardroom, folks. I love that. And it never ceases to amaze me, like, how few marketers actually do that, especially at the higher, in the C-suite. A lot of times there will be marketers who, they might be thinking about user voice, like they might be looking at like search query data or like chat transcript data, but so few marketers these days are actually going out, feet on the street, and speaking with people. I'm curious,
Yeah.
and we'll dive into the competitive spying part of that too. I'm curious to understand some of your methodology there. But when you're thinking to go out, feet on the street, like, what are you doing? Are you literally just like calling folks up, or like in an EDU world, are you going out on the campuses and actually just canvassing, or like, how do you do it?
Yeah, my tools are really my shoes. I get out there. So, we have, like I said, we have uh, 7 physical campuses and then online and competency-based information. So I get in the elevator, there's students in the elevator and they've got their scrubs on and they've got their books in their hand. And I always, they're always looking very serious. I'm always like, test today. They're like, yeah. And so, we bond a few minutes and obviously they don't know who I am, but I am happy to ask questions. I had a conversation. I was actually at our Atlanta campus earlier this week, and I got to have a truly inspiring conversation with one of our ASN, Associate of Science and Nursing students at our Atlanta campus. And she looked to be probably in her mid to late 30s, which is pretty standard for a lot of our schools. We have a lot of non-traditional students that are going back for that second degree or enhancing, or they've made a complete career change from what they were doing. In her case, she said she had worked in operating rooms as a tech, and she had worked in healthcare in different roles and entry level roles for about 4 or 5 years. And she was telling me about her 2 boys that she has at home. She's a single mom. And she said, I really just want to show my boys my very best. And she said, I made a New Year's resolution that I was going to make this the year of my best. And it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
I'm getting chills too.
Again, just an amazing, amazing story. And she is so motivated, so driven. She wants this so badly. And so I invested a little more time and talked to her as we were walking down the hall. And I said, well, how did you find South College? How did you find us? And she said, well, I had a friend that did LPN last year and graduated and loved it. And she said, quite frankly, I was interested last year and I was, just didn't want to invest the time and I wanted to do it, but I was just not feeling right about it. And she said, and in February, she saw a video and I said, oh, you saw a TV commercial? She said, well, no, I saw a video online. I saw a video on Facebook. And she said, I remembered it. I remembered South College. And she's like, she felt like it was like a sign. And she said, so I figured I'll just make the phone call. And so she, did a little research on Google. Thankfully, we have a large presence there. And she was able to fill out the lead form and get in touch with our Atlanta campus. And now she is a second quarter ASN student. And it was a joy to talk to her yesterday. And that is but a slice of that. So asking them how they found us. We just had a very large graduation going across all of our campuses in June. And you get to meet these families. And for some of these families, this is the very first college graduate in their family. And then when you think about it and you pull away from just the transactional piece, that goes back to the boardroom where you're very transactional, looking at KPI and measurements and spend. But when you take a step back and you realize that going to college is a life-changing experience, you are impacting somebody's life and their trajectory. And then it sort of gives the role a whole new meaning, particularly as a marketer. This is not just, I have something, you will buy something. This is really something that, drew me to the role away from, to your point earlier, 28 years of e-commerce, that I made the leap into EDU because the marketing piece is very similar. You're targeting, you're using your third-party audiences, you're obviously putting your ads in places that people need to be. But when you get down to the heart of it, you're actually potentially putting a life-changing opportunity in front of someone that, they can actually make wholesale changes in their life and their family's life and all of those things. So this is when as a marketer, you sort of step back and go, okay, I get it now. This is more than just a spreadsheet. This is more than just, chucking emails out there. This is a whole other, stratosphere that you have, but a tiny piece in helping an individual find, something directional in their life they're going to gravitate to. And that's when you go home feeling satisfied that you've had some, microscopic part in that. And again, as a marketer, at the end of the day, regardless of what industry you're in, that's the satisfaction, that's the nexus we all want to reach.
Hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours, even if you're already a client. If you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenuedrivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenuedrivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision. That's brilliant, Kathleen. And there's so much to unpack there. And like, I can feel your energy and your enthusiasm, right? And that was one of my questions, is what attracted you to education and higher education. And it sounds like it was that sense of purpose and that sense of impact that you're not just selling tchotchkes, like you are actually making a massive impact in people's lives.
Well, and I think there's some other pieces to it. Like I said, I love e-commerce. I was on the original shopping channel team in the mid 90s. So if you're doing the math at home, you know how old I am. But, that was the first foray into buying things online when, you can't buy that online. If you can't touch it, feel it, love it, people won't buy it. And of course, we all know now, many years later, that's just not true. But taking all of those tactics that have evolved in this industry over the last 30 years, paid search and SEO and paid social. And, now we have a streaming and connected TV, you have linear TV, you have all of these different levers that you can pull. And all of that is great. And yes, I can pick up that set of tactics. And yes, I can plant them in EDU. It's definitely what attracted me to this role when I took it, because I saw so much opportunity that I could easily implement and make changes and switch out partners and do all of these things. But it's a whole different business model. For sure. So as I was watching, seasonality curves and e-commerce, of course, everyone's focused on Black Friday. It's nice to have Black Fridays off, by the way. Just going to say that.
Right.
I definitely don't miss those. But, you take all of those tactics and you put them into a brand new business model. I mean, it's falling in love with the industry all over again, because email takes on a completely different meaning. Targeting and connected TV and streaming TV from a third-party audience. If you think about just like demographic targets, they're gigantic. Instead of just, if you're selling hardware or women's clothing, you have a very particular demographic. That's where your customer is. But when you're in the EDU space, it's not just the 18-year-olds that are out of high school and looking for, a commuter college or something a little closer to home, where they're not quite ready to pick up and move to another state to a large D1 school. But we have all of those things at all of our campuses that, that make it great. But I'm also targeting, like this woman I talked to in Atlanta, single mom, 2 boys at home, and she's really trying to set a standard for them. She's changing her life. It's the 50-year-old who sees the younger folks coming up behind them. And they're like, "Ooh, I need more education. I need that master's degree. I need that doctoral degree. I need to differentiate myself." But we also have career changers. We have a gentleman that graduated in June. He was career law enforcement, has been in law enforcement his entire career. And he graduated with an electrical engineering degree because he wanted to make a wholesale change, because he wanted to follow his passion. Loved law enforcement, I talked to him and his wife. He had been in law enforcement for a long time, but his passion at home was building things. His passion at home was fixing, broken appliances. And he decided, you know what? I want to make a change. And, again, you hear these stories and, from a marketer's perspective, it starts popping ideas in my head about, ways to get in front of that demographic. Not everyone is a social media consumer. So that's why, you begin to look at ways to invest smartly in linear TV and connected TV, and you're looking at other things and other tactics. And again, when you've got a demographic that's this wide and this diverse, I mean, the world is your oyster and it's fabulous. And that's where all of the different ideas begin to pop, and you're not just stuck in this lane, this demographic. So that's why I love it.
That's amazing, Kathleen. You're answering all my questions that I have, like even before I ask them, which is great. I have a feeling we might make 2 episodes out of this. So thank you very much. Um, so when you're doing this sort of consumer research, this one-to-one research, do you generally stay undercover, like undercover boss, or are you like shortly into the conversation, are you like, oh yeah, I'm the CMO here? Like, are you revealing that, or are you just kind of letting the conversation play out as it would?
Yeah, it's funny. I tend to kind of read the room a little bit on that because, for some students and, and consumers that you talk to, you don't want to come in all, pressing palms, heavy handed. I'm genuinely interested. So I'm a parent of 2 college students as well. One has graduated with their second degree and now has the big girl job.
Nice.
Yay, parent, I'm going now. Woo. But I also have a son who is a senior about to graduate. So, I tend to find myself feeling a little bit maternal when I approach these students. I see them, they're, a lot of them are in scrubs, they're very serious, they have their books, they have very serious facial expressions. And sometimes for a lot of these students, just a friendly voice to say, hey, you got this. Sometimes that's all they need. A few months ago, there was a whole bunch of radiography students that were out in the hallway right outside my office, and they were going in one at a time for a clinical exercise, and they were going one by one. And so there's like 30 or 40 people out in the hallway. And one of the folks on my team, we decided to have some fun, and so we had these South College stress balls that we had created, and so we brought a box of them out and we just started handing them out to these students that were lining the hall. And I mean, it's just a silly gesture, but they were so excited to just have something in their hands. And we were just like, you got this, you got this. And we're giving it. And it's a silly example, but there are times that it's okay to introduce yourself. Hey, I'd love to talk to you. And there are times that you just kind of want to, like I said, it to me, it feels a little bit maternal. I just want to just check in with them, make sure they're okay. Or, if you find them on the different campuses and, when I do identify who I am and I tell them I'm, out of the Knoxville campus, in some cases, some students weren't aware that we have, 7 physical campuses in 6 states. And so I think it also gives them an appreciation that we're not just a building in one city. I mean, we have this, massive setup. And that goes for our online campus and our competency-based education, that you can be anywhere. And, again, you can chase your dreams and go get what you need. Now I sound like a marketer.
I love your enthusiasm, though. It's really infectious. I want
Uh,
to point out for the listener something, though. So when you're doing this research and you're out of the boardroom, you're speaking with individuals, you're getting ideas for how to reach them, right?
yes.
Like, tech within healthcare that's maybe not credentialed or doesn't have certain credentials. Uh, well, how else are you using that? Like, because it sounds like you're getting also messaging ideas and like copy ideas. Like, for instance, the woman who's like, hey, I felt like it was a sign. Like, couldn't you then
Yeah.
go use that in some of your language and messaging theoretically? Or do you do
Oh,
that?
100%. I'll give you a perfect example. When I started, particularly a fair amount of our entire offerings of programs and certificates are healthcare related. When I got here, it's very acronym heavy. So I'd be in a meeting and they're talking about MSN, and I'm like, oh, Microsoft Network. No, Master of Science in Nursing. Or they're talking about sonography. I didn't know what that was. Now I do. And there's all these different programs. And it occurred to me that we tend to use a lot of industry vernacular that may not be as apparent to a user. So CBE is a great example. Competency based education Okay, what's that? Well, if you go out and you Google competency-based education, you'll see some of our videos where we explain that. Competency-based education is you work, it's completely asynchronous. There's no classroom to log into. There's, no meetings you have to go to. You start and we have a unique subscription program where you go as far as you can go. And every 6 months you resubscribe and you keep going. So you can finish in some cases a doctoral degree. You can finish it in 16 months. You can finish it 20 months. It's up to mastery. Each class you have to hit mastery, and then you go on to the next class and then the next class. And then you reach dissertation. You have a program mentor that is with you every step of the way that you talk to. So, CBE is an example where if I go out and I talk about CBE programs, I would say a majority of the public are like, I don't know what that is. The same thing with respiratory therapy. RT is another one. We call it RT internally, and someone else may think we're talking about R2D2 from Star Wars. So we've really tried hard. And this, again, as a marketer, these are the kind of lightning bolts that go off in my head where it's like, okay, we need to do a video and explain what this is. So we've been on this huge project that's been going on now for a couple of months where our website at south.edu, and it's a brand new website, by the way, launched February 7th. We're very proud of it. We are starting to add videos on a lot of our programs that do exactly that. It explains the program. We put in our TV ads so that, again, we're hoping for that sort of brand recognition in the back of your head. If you've heard the TV ads, and then you can also find them on the website. But CBE is a great example of where we've taken a lot of deliberate time to explain what it is, talk about, this value proposition of having a fully asynchronous. You could be at the beach for a month and you can still work on your doctoral degree. You can, there are people that log in and work on things at night and weekends because that's the time they have. They're a working professional, or people that are full-time students and they can devote 40 hours a week or more. And that's the beauty of programs like that. But the acronyms, and then, like I said, not necessarily having a way to sort of unpack for the public, this is what this is. I have really tried hard to turn that around so that we're really speaking the language to the consumer and have them consume it in a way that is, snackable and small, but also in a format that they can understand where someone's actually explaining it to you. And again, that's kind of a little trick you get from the e-commerce world where there's a video for everything. There's a video, how to use it. Here's the unboxing experience. So it's just bringing that into the space. And it's been great so far.
No, I love the new site too. It's gorgeous. And it sounds like I can see that you took a very video first approach. What were some of your other strategic considerations and rebuilding the site?
Mobile. So again, that's another, tried and true e-commerce foothold, was creating a mobile experience. When I got here, the old website was not mobile friendly. It was incredibly difficult to use. And I took Google Analytics and jumped up and down and said, hey, 73% of our traffic is mobile, folks. We've got to change this website. So that was really kind of the onus for getting this gigantic project started, is to completely redesign the site, approach it from a consumer first, mobile first perspective, so that it's easy to find, easy to navigate. You don't get stuck where you can't get out. Everything you need is just a touch away, is just a tap away. So mobile was really the primary consideration. We also actually embarked on something pretty significant that doesn't necessarily get talked about. And that is that we actually changed our entire look and even our color palette. I hired a brilliant creative director who I stole from my previous employer.
We will tell
And he was really instrumental in changing our colors, our look and feel. It was brighter. It was stark. It was, much more dynamic than it was before. And it's honestly really changing all of that branding. I think it really initiated something across our entire faculty and staff that, we have a brand, we have a look, we have a feel.
Yeah.
And it's not just, hey, I'm going to go order some t-shirts over here, and this program over here has generated their own logo and they're using this color. my first year, we basically just sort of put a huge umbrella under all of that and around it and just said, wait, we have a look, we have a feel, we have a style. We're going to change all of this. And thankfully, our chancellor was incredibly welcoming and approved all of this because it's also taking, color and style from an institution that has been around for more than 30 years and saying, oh, by the way, we're going to change the color. So it really has been a beautiful awakening that there is a lot of consistency now in our brand and our style. And again, as we, you also multiply that across, 9 places, including online and TV and all of our campus markets, Pittsburgh, Asheville, Nashville, Orlando, Atlanta, Indianapolis. I mean, all different geographic areas that all had, everything was just kind of different. And now we've got it all housed in one place. And the website really has been the hub with the spoke on it, that it really sort of is the ownership. We've changed our TV commercials and the way that they look on all of our microsites and digital efforts are now very centralized with our look and feel. And we've really embraced, softer, you'll notice different color hues and circles. And we're really trying to put forth, what we feel here on the interior of who South College really is. And now it's like fully developed, and most importantly, it's represented on the website. And it was a long 14 months, but I'm extremely proud of that work.
It is. It's very nice site. I like also that you've got live chat and like sort of these different conversion mechanisms for folks at different phases. Because to your point about acronyms, I could imagine people maybe being confused, or for instance, they may be looking for CBE, but not know what it's called or not know the name of it. So I like that you're really meeting folks where they are in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's just yet another carryover from retail. If you in the e-commerce world, and you interview CMOs that are in the e-commerce land, they're all going to tell you, your job as a marketer is to put the right product in front of the right person at the right time where they're at. Okay. Well, I mean, it's really adopting that same strategy. So if chat feels comfortable to you, we're there to serve. If you're better on the phone, we're there to serve. If you're better across text, great, we got you. Or if you just want to submit a lead and maybe get a phone call later on or answer an email, maybe when you're ready, we can do that too. It's really sort of putting ourselves in that, that old adage when e-commerce first got started, it was click, call, come by, go to a physical brick and mortar store. It's really kind of adopting that same principle. You can click, you can call, you come to a campus, wherever you are in whatever intersection you're in, if you're, thinking about going to school, we're here. So, and it works.
Brilliant. So it sounds like your main strategies with the site were mobile first, video first, unifying the brand in with it,
Yes.
Having different sort of mechanisms to reach out or move forward based on where folks were. Any other big considerations there?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Better explaining the program. So, one of the things that we instituted, if you look at any program page, there were some sentiments internally, and I would be one of them because I'm not an academic. That some of our descriptions of programs felt a little clinical,
Yeah.
and again, more of that kind of insider industry speak. So, we created these cool little dialogue boxes that sit inside of every program. That is, if you like this,
I see
or
that.
if you enjoy these things, yeah. And it's great. So if you're looking at an accounting degree, obviously you need to learn math.
Right.
Maybe you like mysteries, you like unplugging, different clues along the way. Then maybe you might be leaning more towards analytics. Or if you're a nurse, you're looking at a nursing degree, you care about the health and well-being of people around you. Or if you're looking more into some of the more research oriented pieces of nursing, you might really like TV dramas, or, again, a whodunit or more mystery level where you're uncovering, and so what we tried to do is really kind of consumerize a lot of the information pertaining to different programs, because again, if I'm not really 100% sure what a criminal justice degree does, but then I see this dialogue box and it says, well, you really might like crime dramas on television, or you're really interested to see how a story ends and how evidence mounts up. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That feels more like me.
Yeah.
And that's been really helpful, because I think, the wisdom and thoughts of someone who is 18 and trying to figure out where they want to go in life versus a 35 or 40-year-old who's like, I got to do something different. I need to make a change. This could be the spark for someone who is like, okay, that makes sense. Again, it's not wholly different from looking at a product description of a sweater. It's this size, it's this color, it's this dimension, but you know what? It's made with responsible products. These are, recycled elements, don't put in the dryer. I mean, it's really kind of unplugging those kind of product specification styles that when you're reading about a certain program and you might be interested, this little silly little dialogue box may be exactly what you need to see to go, okay, yes, this is for me, or ooh, no, I don't like spreadsheets. This is not for me.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do.
Oh my goodness. I dare you to add an add to cart button on some of the program pages.
If it would let me, I would. No,
No, just
no, that's the part we actually don't do, and it's funny. I get pitches and email from salespeople all the time, and it's about improving our Amazon feed, or it's something about payment method. I'm kind of like,
you're like,
you didn't read what I do.
your targeting is
That's not what
sorry, you messed up on targeting.
yeah.
But I can definitely see a lot of these e-commerce elements. Are there any other like big principles of e-commerce, or any other like nuggets that you brought from your e-commerce world?
Oh, yes. I changed our email platform. Having attribute-based email is so incredibly important. I had used a particular e-commerce focused platform that I really loved, because it's all attribute based. I can actually, go into the contact list and just again choosing attributes to build my custom list and to send my custom
Wow.
message. And I was so brokenhearted that they had no opportunity for EDU, because they're truly revenue and e-commerce focused, but they're a great platform. But using those preferences, I got rid of the email platform that was here, and I brought in a really strong platform that I love, that does have that rich attribute based setup. So if you want to send an email, and I'm totally making this up, to every third quarter Atlanta BSN student who is, on the president's list, I can build that list for you.
Wow.
And we use it to do a lot of different things. And it's so nice to be able to have that fingertip touch on looking for different attributes, whether it's an alumni list, or I just want to talk to, radiography students in Indianapolis, or I need to send an email to students that are about to graduate from our Orlando campus. I can do all of that and set it up. And it has lots of dynamic slices to it that I can also do programmatically. And that's something that they didn't have here. I think, the email process here at South College was very chuck and duck, chuck it and duck and hope it doesn't come back. It just kind of pushing it out there. So we've been able to move off the chuck and duck and, again, making it really personalized and again, very attribute rich. And that's made a huge difference. So when a student when they become a lead and they've submitted a lead form, we have a whole welcome journey that they get, that is a first touch that welcomes them. Here's all about South College. And then they get a second touch based on what program they've chosen. So then they get a very personalized email that could be, about business or accounting or nursing or, radiography or, whatever the program is, it's going to be tailored to them. We actually have a doctor of pharmacy program, and we have a very successful pharmacy program actually here in Knoxville, where we are turning out pharmacists. And it's a huge program. And it was the most fun job in creating that particular welcome journey. Because again, that's very specialized. They go through very rigorous application processes, and we have an email and a touch point for every part of their application journey before they join us. And that was actually really, really fun because a lot of these students are coming from all walks of life that are interested in becoming pharmacists. And so we have this whole, again, very programmatic approach to it that wasn't here before. So that was a lot of fun to work on.
That is brilliant. Are you able to say what platform it was, or the email platform?
Sure. We use Brevo. We love Brevo. They're a lot of fun. They used to be called Send It Blue, and now they're called Brevo.
Oh, Brevo. Is that BREVO? Brevo?
BRV. Yeah, Brevo.
I see it. Interesting. Well, Kathleen, this is incredibly impressive. Like, you've only been there per LinkedIn, like 2 years. You've rebuilt the website strategically. You've unified the brand. It sounds like you've redone a lot of the, TV assets and the video assets. You've built a ton of video. You re-platformed the whole email and like created all these email campaigns. You're like Superwoman. What does
Formal RFP brought in a brand new digital agency that specializes in EDU, and they've been a fantastic partner. So yeah, I mean, it's been a very busy time, a lot of change. I'm so blessed to work in an environment. When I interviewed, I looked at the chancellor down the eye and I said, "What's the appetite for change?" And I will never forget that man's answer. He said, "Whatever it takes." Okay. So I'm extremely lucky that I work in an environment that so welcomed a lot of radical change, because environments say, "Oh, we want change," and then when you try to implement change, and then you get a lot of resistance. And that's one of the things that I love about this environment. We move fast, and I'm extremely lucky. I have a fantastic top shelf team. Execute, execute, execute. That is our mantra, and so we churn an awful lot of work, and it's fabulous and it's fast paced, but I mean, that's what makes it exciting. So I think for, anyone listening who feels like, they're sort of hamstrung or kind of sitting in a box and they're not sure, the great thing about marketing is that you have so many options at your fingertips. It may take a little evangelizing to get the rest of your executive team on board. But it's worth it. Do it. Go evangelize. Learn as much as you can about all these different things, and seek to find, pathways that you can not only, acquire and build the business by, obviously bringing new consumers into your ecosphere, but you also have to pay attention on the back end on the retention piece and that life cycle marketing that's in there too. So, that's another kind of get out of the boardroom moment where we started this conversation about figuring out, when students do wash out or they're not completing, what's going on there? What can we do? Is it more free tutoring? Is it better tools? Is it more accessibility? We have this huge accessibility project going on right now, especially, and that's something that's been a big passion project of mine after, conversation, ironically, with a student. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different things that, again, from a marketer's perspective, all I did was take one hat off and put the other hat on. But, the dance is still the same, just the song's a little bit different. So.
Yeah. You have a lot of funny sayings. I like that. The old chuck and duck. I'm going to start.
You got to have a sense of humor to work in marketing. So.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us here today. For show notes and other episodes, visit us at revenuedrivencmo.com. That's revenuedrivencmo.com. And hey, exclusive for listeners of this podcast, Web Mechanics will do 10 to 20 hours of work for you for free. Literally no sales calls, no BS. Just give them a problem and they will put a team to work for you for free for 10 to 20 hours. Even if you're already a client, if you're struggling with demand gen, lead gen, SEO, SEM, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, conversion optimization, if you can't get Facebook or Meta ads to work for the life of you, or you can't figure out attribution, Web Mechanics will take a good hard look at whatever problem you give them, whatever programs you put in front of them, and they will give you an objective, informed opinion, plus some advice from 10 to 20 hours of senior level attention. And that's just because you're a listener of this podcast. So I would suggest take them up on this offer. It's ridiculous. Go to revenuedrivencmo.com/free, fill out the 2-minute form, and you will not regret it. Literally zero downside, unlimited potential for growth. So do yourself a favor, revenuedrivencmo.com/free, no hyphens, no punctuations. You will be happy about that decision.